This is a villa owned by wealthy Chinese people, built in rural Beijing, and right across this small river, there is an old rundown village. Nearby, there is also a rural burial area, and inside the village, there are unfinished buildings. Hi everyone, I'm Shun. I was born and raised in Beijing. When people hear Beijing, they usually think of Tiananmen Square, the Great Wall, China Zone, and modern skyscrapers. But today, I want to show you what rural Beijing really looks like. This is supposed to be a river, but it has obviously been dry for many years. I don't know why they still built an iron bridge here. Every time a car drives across it, the noise is very loud. The living conditions in this village are actually not too bad. Many families have rebuilt their homes into pretty large houses. This family even keeps geese outside. This family seems to be running a small glass workshop. There's still a little bit of water here, probably rainwater that collected after a storm. The loud sound you hear is probably cicadas. In Beijing summer, the hotter it gets, the louder they become. It almost feels like the whole village is vibrating. Alright, let's go to the next place. This river used to be much wider, but it has also been dry for a long time. The guardrails here are in terrible condition. One side is completely gone. Maybe it was hit by a car at some point. The pillars on the other side are also badly damaged. Maybe because there is no water in the river anymore. Whoever is responsible thinks nothing serious will happen, so they just left it here like this. There is still a tiny bit of water here. And over there, a father is playing nearby with his little daughter. This is the strange thing about places like this. Everything looks abandoned, but people are still living their normal lives around it. There is so much moss here. Honestly, it looks kind of disgusting. If anyone has trypophobia and feels uncomfortable, I can only say sorry. And there is actually a guy fishing here. I have no idea how there could be fish in this water. Anyway, let's keep walking. This is a canal, and here the water level is much better. But both sides are blocked by metal fences, probably to stop people from swimming, fishing, or getting into the water and causing accidents. It may also be to protect the water quality. These are road barriers. They are probably here to stop large trucks from passing through. Alright, warning. The next part might feel a little uncomfortable. We are about to enter a rural burial area near the village. In China, cremation has been the official policy for many years, especially in cities. But in many rural areas, traditional burial still exists. Sometimes people simply bury their family members in the ground, even near roads or fields. Some graves are more formal with stones and tombstones. Some are just small dirt mounds. Over there you can see artificial flower wreaths, so someone probably visited the grave not long ago. To be honest, I personally find it hard to accept graves being placed so casually by the roadside, and it already looks almost full here. China is aging very fast, so I really don't know where people in these villages will be buried in the future. I'm not going deeper inside. After all, I'm not an adventure blogger. I'm a little scared, so let's leave. The guy who was fishing earlier moved to the other side, and surprisingly, he actually caught a few tiny fish. I have no idea what he plans to do with them. I really hope he is not going to eat them. The water looks dirty, probably full of pollutants. And the fish are so small anyway. There is barely any meat, probably just bones. Alright, let's keep going to the next place. Here someone is growing green onions in front of their house. Someone else is growing corn, and another family has fruit trees. I've noticed that many Chinese people who move to the United States also like to grow vegetables in their yards, especially older people. For many of them, this is not just a hobby. It comes from a very deep memory of poverty and food shortage. Before China's economic reforms, China was under a socialist planned economy. The country was extremely poor. During the Cultural Revolution, my grandfather raised 2 pigs at home. Just because of that, people accused my family of practicing capitalism. He was taken out and publicly criticized almost every day. And during the Great Famine caused by the Great Leap Forward, life was even worse. Beijing was relatively better. People were hungry, but at least many could barely survive. But in some other places, people ate all the grass and even stripped tree bark to eat. There were even more terrifying things, but I can't say them directly. In old Chinese historical records, there is a phrase used to describe this kind of situation. 岁大鸡，人相食. This topic is extremely sensitive in China, so I won't say more here. Let's stop here. The 2-story building above is a self-built rental house. Each room is probably only around 10 square meters. The rent is about 500 yuan a month, which is roughly $70. Technically, the government does not really allow people to randomly build private rooms for rent like this anymore. But if they were built years ago, many of them just stayed. And because this is rural Beijing, the rules are usually not enforced as strictly as in the city center. It looks like this car can't get through. Oh, now I see why. Someone expanded their chicken and duck cages all the way onto the road. Now we are passing a large factory. I can't tell what it produces. Next to it, this river is also dry, but the wild plants are growing really well. There is even a drainage ditch here. This village is also right next to an old railway. I'm not sure if it is still in use. If trains still pass through here every day, it must be very noisy. This family is rebuilding their house. It looks like they are going to build a 2-story home. The red banner was probably put up by the construction team. The banner says, "Congratulations to the Chen residents. May construction begin with good fortune." Chen is the family name of the owner, and Fu is a traditional respectful word for someone's home. This is a small countryside road. Under the bridge, people have thrown a lot of trash. Places like this are not tourist areas, so nobody really maintains them carefully. By the time I filmed these village villas, the sun was almost setting. Here is another iron bridge, and the river underneath is also completely dry. Next to the villas, there is a newly built apartment compound. In China, we often joke that these high-rise apartment buildings are like pigeon cages. This is very different from America. In many Western countries, a house with a yard may be normal for middle-class families. But in China, especially in cities like Beijing and Shanghai, a big detached house is something only very wealthy people can afford. Most ordinary people, even many middle-class families, live in apartment blocks like these. In Beijing and Shanghai, the home price to income ratio can be as high as 30 to 40. Even in many small Chinese counties, it can still be over 20. And in China, residential property usually comes with a 70-year land use right. There is also something called shared area or gongtan mianji. Shared area means that public spaces inside the building, like hallways, elevators, and staircases, are divided among all buyers and counted into the area they pay for. For example, your actual living space may be 100 square meters, but you may have to pay for 110 square meters, or even more, because part of that is the so-called shared area. In some extreme cases, the shared area can be 30% or even 40%, so you pay for a large apartment, but the space you can actually live in is much smaller. But compared with unfinished buildings, shared area is actually not the worst problem. The most unlucky buyers are people who bought homes in unfinished projects like these. An unfinished building means the apartment was sold before construction was completed. In China, many real estate companies sell homes before they are finished. Because Chinese housing prices are so high, most buyers need mortgages. They may pay hundreds of thousands or even over $1,000,000 as a down payment, and then carry a mortgage for decades. But if the developer runs out of money or disappears, the building may never be completed. The buyer loses the down payment, never gets the apartment, and in many cases, still has to keep paying the mortgage every month. And remember, this is Beijing, the capital of China. Beijing actually has fewer unfinished buildings than most Chinese cities. In second and third tier cities, there are many more cases like this. I was just trying to show you rural Beijing, but somehow I started talking about sensitive topics again. I should probably stop here. I'm Shen, born and raised in Beijing, China. On this channel, I want to show you a side of China that many people overseas have never really seen. Not just the headlines, not just the stereotypes, but real everyday life. I will share food, travel, local stories, ordinary people's lives, social issues, politics, parenting, family activities, and many small moments that show how people actually live here. Your subscription and support mean a lot to me. They help me keep making better videos and sharing more real stories from China. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.